As I said, my name is Tom and I'm working for the VAMED, and I'm going to introduce this company just quickly to you. VAMED is working in the healthcare areas on the entire globe, so to say, specialized in hospitals, rehabilitation. By the way, there's one rehabilitation center in Kitzbühel, which we are running, and in the preventive part. And I'm this gent who is doing the sexy part. I'm in this preventive business, so to say, with, as you can see in our portfolio, city spas and thermal spas and some other areas. Before I'm going to kick in, I will twofold my presentation by giving you some information about Austria and some little facts and figures. I was told you like that. And then actually emphasizing and elaborating a little bit of I'm going to see the future, or we're going to see the future approach. But before I'm going to start, so let me ask you a question. Why that fuss about all of a sudden the healthy and hot springs? Well, in my world, and particularly in Europe's world, as we just learned, and in Austria especially, it's a real important world. If I may say, if I go down or back to the dawn of civilization, so 5,000 years from now or even longer, then maybe hot springs were the very first reason for wellness tourism. On another hand, we all know water has this low gravity effect. And this counts for each water, and I think everybody understands only 1/6 of your body weight, you know, your backbone really says hello to that. If it then has some healing ingredients on top of it, the palliative benefits are certainly given. And I promise I'm not going to bore you about all these various kinds of trace minerals are in there and what they can do with you. I'm rather going to chat a little bit more, and this is I'm going to give you a nutshell on the Austrian market, and particularly on our company, on our properties here in Austria and Hungary, 9 of them, how we see it and how it could develop in the future. And one thing is for sure, I think some chaps here 25 years ago in Austria, particularly most probably in Tyrol, they listened to the words of great Mahatma Gandhi really carefully when he said, you know, be the change you want to see. And if you look at this, what the Austrians did, or these chaps at least at that time, they made it happen. It's happening currently now. And when I'm giving you some information and numbers about Austria, I'm going to flip through a couple properties. 10% of you, 50 people, had a pre-stay in one of our properties at the Aquadome here in Tyrol as well. I'm very grateful and thankful, and as I know, all of them survived the saunas and the infusions, and all of them survived the 6 o'clock in the morning hike on the mountain. So big time, congratulations. Austria itself, and I think this is maybe not a big number for you, has about 1,100 wellness entities, wellness resorts. That might be not that big, but for a country with 8.7 million inhabitants, that's quite something. And on top of it, in that little Austria, we have about 39 hot spring spa facilities. And imagine these hot spring spa facilities, the 39 I'm talking to you, they do 500,000 more of entrances as we have inhabitants, 9.3 million on a yearly basis, steady growing from year to year by 1%. Seeing that actually, and I was told there are some investors in here as well, or people who want to spend money on that kind of projects. I can only talk about my properties, but over the last 5 years, we had a CAGR in sales from plus 10% and a CAGR in our profitability from plus 15%. So not that bad business, so to say. And it's growing, as we learned yesterday as well. I have to admit, after the day yesterday, when all the presentation were done, I thought, Tom, you're on the right spot, you know? What you're going to do there tomorrow, that fits. And then I had this wonderful presentation today, 9 o'clock from Eddie. And I was like, my God, my presentation is Stone Age, you know? My presentation is going to be Stone Age. And I don't know where we're going to go, but it's really spooky and interesting. So maybe I'm going to overthink again in the next 20 years what we're going to do. However, as we head in this presentation as well, in my opinion, we have 2 mega trends. And they're really major trends because they are already there and they're not going to go away by tomorrow. They're going to stay for us for the next years. And if I have to phrase them in 2 words, then I would call them time and space. And you know, this relaxing in time and space in the future has to give us, I think, one important point. I think Austria, and particularly, we are doing much good on that. And we're covering these 2 aspects of body and mind, you know, a healthy body and getting a fit mind. However, we think in the future, we have to more and more take care of the 3rd dimension to body and mind, which will become equally, if not even more important, and this is our soul. For giving people the time to musing away. And to give you a little an idea, and this is where I'm going to start now, my rock and roll show, to show you and to explain to you how we take a topic and how we're going to embrace an idea and really want to deliver a story which can fulfilling for people. Have you ever thought what silence can give to you? Yeah. We have one property northeast of Austria, roughly an hour north of the capital of Austria, Vienna. It's in one of the most prestigious white wine regions, it's Untitled, and there we're gonna, in 4 weeks from now, open the first silence bar. And I'm really flabbergasted, as you can imagine. And the question we asked ourselves at the very beginning was, on one hand, how could we find inner silence? And how could we find this peace, so to say? The second question was, and you had a presentation here prior in the morning, what can spiritual buildings or sacral buildings actually do to us? Or what do they do to you when you enter a monastery or when you enter a chapel? Is there a combination or a connection between architectural proportions and the way we're gonna enjoy our well-being? And last but not least, what would that give to well-being? Could that even, boost well-being into positive well-being? And last but not least, have you ever came around contemplation or thought about contemplation? Well, now I'm gonna take you on the journey for the space and for the time, elaborating the third element for our soul. We looked at a lot of sacral and spiritual buildings and quickly found out that they have many things in common, lots of similarities, and we thought how we're gonna interpret these similarities of these sacral buildings into our spa world to really give an enrichment to the people. What you see left down there is actually the St. George church in Ethiopia, in Africa. And we did the very same with our silent spa, open in a month, as I said. It's digged in, it's embedded in the floor to really create the genuine retreat from the very beginning. And the entire building is done since centuries and centuries according to it's called the golden ratio. It's building ad quadratum. I'm not going to get too technical with you, but they call it Elle in German, and I think it's cubit in English. It's about 54 centimeters, so any widths and lengths dimension has a connectivity. And you will find that in any sacral buildings on this planet. We did it with 4 ellipses, and in the middle with a tower. Further on, we thought, how did they do this in the past? And the stonemasons at that time, the really gifted ones, the really good ones, they had the skills to skeleton and perforate walls and stones. And exactly with this, we did our entire silence bar. So on the one hand, it ensures that you're going to have silence and privacy, but on the other hand, it opens up the perspective through the entire spa world. So you get both on one shot. In the middle, where I said, is the well house. This is where the spring is going to originate actually then in the spa and nurtures all 4 ellipses and all areas. The choir stalls you find all over. This is where the same-minded people get together, is our interpretation in the silent spa where we're going to do our restaurants worlds. The Octagonal Tower, this number 8 in almost any culture on this planet, it stands for this calmness, harmony, and for something which is never ending and is a new beginning. The cloisters, very important if we're talking about contemplation, for pondering at yourself, remusing. We combined in an outside area, even with a hot saline pool, that lightheartedness can even be more embedded. And the monastery garden, and some of you learned this already during that summit, very important the sauna world for us Europeans, very important for us Austrians. This is where you're going to unpeel your unhealthy thoughts and you're going to unleash the new vitality. Saying so, this is the concept about the space. Now I'm going to take you a little bit on the customer journey for the time aspect, because that's equally important. We want to make sure that we get more time out of your time, that you get quality time. To do so, we all know we hate to queue up, we hate to wait, we hate to ask something. We want to be delivered and somebody has to understand what we want actually. What we want to achieve there is a very relaxed person check-in, if you want to call it this way, the VRP check-in. Yes, you can do all the reservations as in any other kinds prior email and prior internet and from your mobile device, but we're going to go the next step further that you're going to have in the ellipses, you choose in what ellipse you're going to be. You choose your sun loungers. In fact, they're king-size beds we're going to have for you there waiting. You choose where you want to have them. You're going to let us know prior What's the size of your bathrobe? You rather prefer flip-flops or sandals? What kind of treatments maybe arrange you? What kind of newspapers shall wait for you upon your arriving? And all these things are taken care. So by the time you arrive, our silent assistants and our silent coaches, the only thing they give you actually is a sweet pad. And on this sweet pad, you have some concerts on there and some other nice things we think is really helpful and supportive for spending a day there. As I said, all these pathways from the ellipses lead into the same direction. So it's very easy to find yourself around. No getting lost or things like this. In the middle, you're going to have, as I said, this center part. This is where everything leads away. And all the water areas, be it from the restaurants, but all the other areas as well, fill you through a pillared hall. And all these pillared halls go outside as well. So you not only have the inside experience, you have the outside experience as well. And taking that into consideration, in the center, we tried to really build in the body, mind, and soul perspective of a fountain, our interpretation, so to say. And if you're in there, it's going to be really stunning. I was there on Saturday before I arrived here. We had the water test. And this is one of these, the baby is born. If the water is going to fix, then you know it's going to work. And it was really great. I didn't bring a picture of me standing there in my bathing pants, but I really enjoyed it. And the best thing is, what I'm going to show you now is exactly as it is here, not the real picture, but it's going to be like this. You're going to look up through a rose window, and the sky is going to open up for you during daytime and during nighttime. And as I said, for us important is that these ellipses are the real areas where you can find your inner self, if you want to say. You're not forced to. That's for sure. Because one thing is, in our opinion, really very, very important. I cannot force you to do anything. We want only to create a platform, an area, a space where you have the chance to do that. And if you take it up or not, it's your decision. And we all know making a decision, if you make a decision, then you have to set an action. I cannot act you have to act yourself. And saying so, we believe that we're going to create a world of contemplation there, which is the next step into the future of using our hot springs as a comfortable area with all the other aspects and elaborating them further. If I go back to the motto of Back to the Future, then I would say this holistic approach, Total Austria, has already embraced a couple years ago, 2 centuries ago, and is driving it further. With nature, we are embedded with the local people we are working in, and all the other things, and taking it now further to not only consider the health and the mind or the fitness of your brains, but as well I call it the psychological well-being, if you wish, then this is this contemplation part we can offer you. And the root word in contemplation is temple. And the temple is either the place you're going to go and find yourself set aside, or you need your body as your inner temple. Both silences are very, very important. At the end of the day, we strongly believe that this can be the next step to positive well-being, which in my opinion could be happiness. And since I opened somehow with Mahatma Gandhi, let me close with him. He said, happiness is when what you think, what you talk, and what you do is in harmony. And we hope we can create a place like this. Thank you.